Recording is
Thank
on.
you, Roel Zylstra, for being here. We appreciate you being here and telling us about United Nations Uniting for Peace resolution and how it can be used to help the Palestinian cause. So we're eager to learn from you. So thank you for being here. Over to you.
Thanks very much. Um, yeah, first of all, I'd like to give a bunch of disclaimers. I'm not a historian or a legal expert. I started studying this, the UN in particular, maybe at most a year ago, um, and got involved in the Palestinian movement. So check anything I say as fact if it's going to be, any facts I say if it's critical to your decisions or actions. And AI gives better answers than than I give, so I'm just preventing food for thought for you and my experience and my story. And I'm not a presenter. In fact, I don't remember the last time I presented. It's been many decades, I'm sure. So with those disclaimers out of the way, I'm going to be talking about using the United Nations General Assembly Uniting for Peace resolution to help with international peace, to secure international peace. Usually that's the job of the UNSC, the United Nations Security Council, to uphold, but they are failing, I don't know, maybe more and more so these days to do that. So it falls on the UNGA and their Uniting for Peace mechanism. So I'll quickly talk about what is this Uniting for Peace mechanism and why I've prioritized it in and the group that I work with have prioritized it as the aspect that we work on, that we contribute to the freedom of Palestine. And then I'll go through some details and history of U4P, and then talk about what the Palestinians themselves want, because often we as Palestinian activists progress blindly ahead with our agenda, and it may not be exactly aligned with the Palestinians, although it doesn't have to be exactly aligned, of course. But we just want to get some idea of how we are aligned, and then finally where we are now in our advocation of in our U4P advocacy, and what should we do going forward. So first, what is U4P? It's the UN, the United Nations, is broken into two large bodies. There are many committees in the UN, the Human Rights Council, and other committees at the United Nations. But the two largest ones, and well, definitely the two ones that are most responsible for international peace, are the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations General Assembly. The Security Council is comprised of 15 member nations. Five are permanent, and 10 are non-permanent. And the UNGA, the General Assembly, is comprised of all United Nations member nations. So the U4P was adopted in 1950, and that was in response to the USSR in Korea, the Korean War. And so when the United Nations, the Security Council was saying, hey, we should stop this. We should, provide, troops to stop this war. Of course, the USSR would always veto that. So they kind of just pushed it down to the UNGA, and they say, hey, you guys deal with it. We're getting, we have vetoes. And so the UNGA then said, okay, well, we'll have to take on responsibility of international peace as the final resort. And they said, and so they passed this Uniting for Peace resolution. I think its number is 377A. But with this, there have been to date, that what this resolution allows is the UNGA to then, in each instance, create separate resolutions, or I guess you could call them sub-resolutions, kind of, called emergency special sessions. And there have been 11 since 1950, when the U4P was adopted. There have been 11 of them. The latest one, number 11, is responding to the war in Ukraine, and the 10th one is actually the one that is still active for Palestine, which was put forth in 1977. So this is by far, all the other ones, all the other 9 emergency special sessions were resolved either one way or the other by not doing anything about it, or by presenting some aggressive and very successful resolutions, like the one in 1956 that was, I think, to stop the UK, France, and Israel from attacking Egypt in the Suez Canal, if I'm not mistaken. And so when that was put forth and adopted, basically France and UK had to back down in the Suez region. So there are successful precedents to using this. And so what are the so what the UN needs to do, the 193 member nations, it needs to present a resolution under the emergency special, within the emergency special session now, that is that has very strong language about countries contributing armed forces to protect Gaza and Palestine, including enforcing no-fly zones and kicking Israel out of Gaza. I mean, probably, if the resolution passed, it probably wouldn't happen, because Israel would, acknowledge its defeat politically at that point. But that hasn't happened yet. There have been several resolutions passed under this Palestinian emergency special session, which was created in 1977, that do say other things, but there's not this resolution that says we must be more forceful about this, not something with teeth. And so the reason why I and the group that I'm working with, and many other people who are, very loosely associated with us, or have come in to discuss this on webinars, etc., believe in this, because they have seen that in the past this was the way to go, and it is the quickest way to stop a genocide. So if this resolution passed, if the countries agreed on it, Israel would have to admit its defeat, or face a larger military force than the Hamas has presented and the Houthis to date. So it's the quickest way. It may be the way may be as improbable, but it's potentially the quickest way. So, and in addition to that, I wanted to understand how this international system worked. And so I I wanted the big picture before I decided to maybe join BDS or legal actions or material actions, with Hind Rajab Foundation, um, very serious steps. But I first wanted to understand the big picture. So this is the big picture: international law, and power structures. Um, so that's that's why we are taking this path, because the BDS, and the economic sanctions, and these things will take longer to affect or to stop the genocide. Okay, so now a bit more about the details and of the UN and of the recent what has happened recently regarding U4P and plans in Gaza. So just to understand the UNSC a little bit more, there are 5 permanent nations, which are China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and the US. And there are 10 non-permanent members. And these permanent members are on the board or on the council for 2 years, and half of them rotate out every year. And so you can see here in this latest, in the existing term, there's Algeria and Pakistan, both Muslim countries, and as far as the population is concerned, at least, very pro-Palestinian. And the voting in the United Nations Security Council goes like this. It's similar to what the voting requirements are to pass a resolution in the UNGA. So both of these have a 2/3. You need 2/3 of the members to pass a resolution or to adopt a resolution. Except in the case of the UNGA, where there's lower, there's less important resolutions that can be passed with a simple majority, but things like in international peace must be passed with 2/3 majority. And it's the same thing in the United Nations, the Council, the Security Council. But there's an additional factor in the Security Council, whereby the permanent members can veto a pass. So even if 9 or 10 or 11 members vote yes on a Security Council resolution, a permanent member can veto it, thereby nullifying it. And that has been what has been happening in the case of Gaza. And it actually is the case for every resolution that has come before the Security Council in the case of Gaza in the past 2 years, 2.5 years, that the United States is the only nation that has vetoed any resolution regarding Palestine coming before the Security Council, except for the Trump plan, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, so that's the UNSC. As far as the United Nations General Assembly, that's comprised of all 193 nations, and the history there is there have been about 25 or 26 resolutions regarding Palestine in 2024 and 2025. And there's probably the same number, about 10 of them in 2026. I haven't checked, but in 2024 and 2025, generally is the case that every resolution is adopted. And when I say adopted, the resolutions are, in the case of Palestine, are always for Palestine. So if it's adopted, means it's a pro-Palestine resolution. Even in the case if it mentions Israel. So I did a search on all UNGA resolutions that mention Palestine or Israel, and there's about 26 of them, 25 or 26, and they are overwhelmingly passed. They're passed with flying colors, overwhelmingly, by the member nations. The only nations voting against these are, of course, number one, Israel, who has voted against every one of them, and the United States, which has voted against every one of them except for one of them, and then it goes on kind of down from there. There's a couple, we'll get to that later. Anyway, that's the voting history in the UNGA. So then we come to, well, what is being done about it now? Why isn't there a uniting for peace resolution with teeth that members that presumably pro-pal countries can act on and act under that political cover? Well, it's it's complicated, but let me just say it's Colombia who was most vocal at the UNGA in 2025 in New York, and they Gustavo Petro, Colombia's president, was discussing putting forth a resolution, a uniting for peace resolution, and there was a lot of excitement about it, but it got fizzled out a little bit. It's still on the table, and it's these countries are still trying. Some countries are still countries with a history of liberation movements are, and the government to match them, are still discussing ways to implement this. But there's so much coercion on the and blackmailing and bribing and etc. on the part of Israel through the United States that it is difficult for these nations with much less military power to put this together. So that's kind of what is happening with Colombia's proposed resolution. We're still trying to support these countries and move forward with that. But what really kind of sidelined it as well is the Trump plan. So Trump plan had a phase 1 and phase 2. The phase 1 was well, let me first. Well, yeah, okay. Let me first kind of say what it was. The phase 1 was the exchange of hostages. Hamas gave hostages back to Israel, and Israel gave some minority hostages of Palestinians back to Palestine, and presumably part of it was a ceasefire as well, which of course we all know that Israel's not adhering to. And as far as I understand it, Hamas has been generally adhering to it. There aren't many, as far as I know, there aren't any deaths on the Israel side due to Hamas, or even explosions for that matter. But yeah, to kind of try and understand Trump's plan more, why did all so first of all, the incredible thing is that Trump's plan was voted yes to by all UNSC members, except for Russia and China, who abstained. But it's kind of strikes. It would strike someone who didn't know, hasn't, not familiar with this, that's kind of odd. That, for example, Algeria would say, yeah, the Trump plan is good, when phase 2 of the Trump plan is actually kind of giving over Palestine to Israel and the U.S. in effect, disarming Hamas, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of strange, but you have to take into account that these these leaders in these Arab countries, they want to stay in power. So how can they stay in power? Well, it's a tightrope walk between the U.S. bullying them and saying we're going to potentially bomb you or sanction you into more oblivion than perhaps you already are being sanctioned, and their population, who is saying let's go save Gaza, in very, very broad strokes. So there's some problems with the Trump plan, though. Phase one is better than what was happening before it. Hundreds of Palestinians per day were being killed, genocided before, and now only maybe dozens. So that's an improvement, but there's other problems with it that it's in my opinion, its failure is inevitable, because in the Trump plan, it has to have a political cover from other nations. So U.S. said, hey, we have to have some Muslim troops go in there and quell Hamas, which obviously isn't the side that needs to be quelled, but coerce them to put down their guns, and so we can go over and rebuild it, and we can control it, we can take it over, kind of sidelining the whole Palestinian sovereignty thing. But these nations, it's more difficult for them to provide troops to go against Hamas when their own people don't want that. So so that's why this whole second phase of the Trump plan is, you're not seeing it really go anywhere. And then, in addition to the coercion of the U.S., you also don't see anything being done by the Palestinian Authority, who is kind of in international circles kind of generally regarded as the government of Palestine, when in fact it's really just a puppet. Mahmoud Abbas is simply a puppet of Israel and the U.S. I mean, he has to walk a fine line as well between Israel and the U.S. and his people, but he is doing nothing to prevent the genocide of his own people. And by and large, the Palestinians, particularly the Palestinians that I speak to in Gaza, are not fond of him. They don't like him at all. So that kind of takes us to, what do the Palestinians want? Well, how do we first of all, how do we know what they want? Do they want Hamas? Do they not? There's a organization called the Palestinian NGO Network, non-governmental organization network. We refer to it as PINGO, PNGO, and it's a network of NGOs. It's a network of organizations of maybe 150 different organizations in Palestine, and it kind of keeps track of what civil society wants in Palestine. And they are basically as disapproving of the PA and Mahmoud Abbas as the rest of the Palestinians in general. So there's the problem there. And then looking at it from I guess, well, yeah, okay, so that's that. And then there's Hamas. We have to take into account them, because they're the ones fighting back against Israel, along with other factions. They're saying, along with most Gazans, we don't want any forces in Gaza. In the half of the Gaza that's left to us right now. We don't want international forces to come to take any more of Gaza. And you're like, well, why can't friendly forces come in? But it's kind of understandable, because all they have known is oppression and imperial forces. So, and even if you think about it, well, how do they know if some international force is going to be friendly or not, and they don't want. So they say stay out. Just come to the come to the borders if you want to kick Israel out, fine. But we don't want any more forces in Gaza that we control at least, which makes sense. And then there's of course the longer term view of the Palestinians is something from decades ago, the Thawabit, which is quickly the right to resistance, the right to self-determination, Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine, and the right of Palestinians to return to their homes. So the right of return. So that takes us now to what should be done. Well, as I see it, we can keep trying to, and this was my initial very naive entry into this 9 months ago. I think in May was really kind of when I really started digging in and contributing to to organizations and movements. I wanted to help pressure pro-Palestinian governments to, or pro-Pal countries, both their citizens and their governments, to be to push more for this, to push more for this international armed force. So I got my start with Protect Palestine and Usman Nur, and then kind of spun off, and many people who were listened to his first few webinars spun off and created a bunch of different organizations, which now kind of are coalescing back into one. I think we're calling it Uniting for Palestine. So we were kind of under the stopgenocide.com umbrella, but now we're kind of moving over to unitingforpalestine.com. But in any case, so what we'll be doing as a group, we will continue supporting governments, pushing citizens in countries, pro-Pal government, pro-Pal citizen countries, to push their governments to do more and to act under this emergency special session to put forth a resolution which allows, or which mandates, well, UNGA can't really mandate, but which resolves and allows for countries to contribute armed forces. And then there's other things that we're going to be doing as well, which is supporting embargoes, which Francesca Albanese, that she says, well, that now since we have the Trump plan and Colombia's resolution is kind of on the back burner, let's do embargoes, and we have to just continue spreading awareness of liberation. So yeah, so that kind of wraps up my presentation. I took a lot longer than I thought I would, and so yeah, so I guess it's time for questions if anybody has any, and feedback. I'd love feedback. So
Yeah. No, thank you. That was great. You were great. Don't sell yourself short.
okay.
So you're teaching us, and we're here to learn, and then turn that into action. So I guess like my first question is like, what why has this not already been attempted? Like what's been holding it back? Like, it's been used 9 times successfully before, or whatever number of times.
Yeah.
Some of those times were successful and some not. Like, what is holding things back now?
It's very strange to me, and as I understand it, and people closer to the United Nations machinations understand it, is that there's a lot of a lot of negotiating behind the scenes before a resolution is presented for a vote. And generally, it's presented for a vote only when the negotiate when it will already when it was already known that it will pass. So you don't see this resolution, you don't see a vote on it, because this is the only one with teeth, and this is the only one that the United States would step into the UNGA at the point where this a particular resolution, a Uniting for Peace resolution, is put forth, perhaps by Colombia. That's when they would step in, particularly against Colombia and against other supporting, or sponsoring, or co-sponsoring nations, to coerce them. And so I think this kind of goes on behind the scenes, and perhaps these countries don't feel enough support from their citizens. They don't see enough on the ground. Although you do see, March to Gaza in Egypt, you do see flotillas, and you see polls that everybody's pro-Pal, but I guess the question is, why don't you see this resolution? Just put it forth. Colombia, put your resolution forth before the UNGA. Let's have a vote on it and see how it falls out. How it. But so I don't know why this hasn't been put forth. I mean, the PA, the Palestinian Authority, they cannot do this. They can't even vote, much less put forth a resolution at the UNGA. So, so the PA can't do it, and so I'm kind of confused myself as to why they don't just put it forth to a vote.
So, one of the things that caught my attention about this is, when your organization had this great webinar, it had Craig Mokaber and a number of other prominent people in space
who buy from Pingo, and and the lawyer, what's her name? I forget. Yeah.
I'm her name is slipping my mind too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So there's prominent people in this space that are working on this, right?
Yeah.
And they, like people like them, they clearly know what happens inside of the UN, right? Craig Mokaber and the lawyer, they work closely with these different nations and literally worked at United Nations. And so so when people like them are putting their kind of time and energy behind this, then it's worthwhile pushing, right? And it's not like you stop pushing other efforts, right? Humanitarian efforts, but you use all the tools that are available, right? And so this is yet another tool. And so is there and some of this might be even like kind of secret for now, right? Like what's happening behind the scenes, what pressure is being put on, what time.
There is a lot of secrecy as well.
Right. So and you but what so like there's 14 of us on the call. We can go to our local representatives, our local politicians, and say, okay, hey, push this in United Nations. But what are we like asking them, right? Like and like what messages should we be amplifying to make this happen, to make this tool successful?
There is a list of things that we want to see in a Uniting for Peace resolution. And you can find these on probably, I haven't looked at the emails are a little bit stale on the campaigns that we're running. I haven't updated them in months now, but they're basically the same. And if you pull up, if you go to stopgenocide.com and go to the UNGA, it's the first button at the top of the page, the big red button, and go to the campaign there.
Right.
To open up an email, it'll list I think it should list. Let me see. Let me do that right now. It should list what we would like to see in a U4P resolution. So there are also that we do have members who are more involved with higher up in talking to Colombia. So there's one member in our organization. Her name's Adrienne, and she speaks very closely with the advisor to Gustavo Petro, and she's actually a consultant. So a consultant and an activist. So she speaks with him, and kind of guides us as well, as Craig and Ubay, the Palestinian PNGO guy, and so okay, so let me oh, I require that you have to put in your name. Okay, this. Okay, and I think you also have to click copy. Okay, and open. So if I open it now.
We're still seeing your Word document, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, let me. Yeah, I was just seeing if the points, that we're asking to be put in a resolution. So if you just let me see. Okay, so yeah, I can share with you my browser as well. So let me see if I've got it.
Okay. Oh, wait, right. The lawyer's name, Lamis Deek.
Yeah, Lamis Deek. Yeah,
right.
Lamis Deek. Yeah.
What's her name?
So if I just switch over.
Website, right?
Yeah. If I just switch over here, so I'm at just stopgenocide.com/UNGA. So I just opened up Afghanistan. I just clicked the Afghanistan button after putting in my name, and you'll see. Yeah, there's a list of like 7 things that we would like to see in the resolution. I wouldn't, at this point, I probably would leave out number 7, because we just want to, we really want to get Israel out of Gaza, stop the genocide in West Bank and Gaza. Kind of those are the main things.
Right.
So we kind of want to take the minimum, the minimum viable, agreeable proposal to put it forth, and then build on that, and slowly more and more, because that's really, step by step is the way to do this.
Right.
But these are certainly, there are certainly 7 things that are already agreed upon in international law. We're just saying, hey, let's abide by international law, right? So we're just kind of trying to reaffirm that we'd like to abide by international law. That's the idea. But if we have to throw out some, some reaffirmations, then okay, to move forward, then okay. But those are, but to your question, what do we do? That's what we ask for. We ask for those things. We ask for those points that are in that email. And what else do we do? Yeah, I mean, it's showing the hypocrisy, showing the lawlessness, showing just trying to share the perspective. And there are a lot of people, particularly in the United States, who don't give a damn, right? Still, even after October 7th, they're still clueless and don't care, but just still trying to get people involved and show them how their fate now under ICE, under fascism, is connected to exporting this lawlessness and fascism and imperial colonialism, terrorism, etc. How is it? It's connected. Well, you get the boomerang effect. It's going to come back to the United States.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just I'm just throwing out stuff for you. Some ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
I don't know. If you can
undoubtedly.
get my answer a little bit more,
Yeah.
please feel free. Ask it again if I didn't answer it.
I know there were a number of webinars in this community, United for Peace community, multiple featuring Greg Mokaber, Lamisdik, and the others. Um, eh, are they still like? Is your team still continuing to organize those webinars on what's the latest that's happening with U4P? What's the momentum like?
Okay. What's my team? Okay. So, or our team, not my team. Yeah. I'm, I'm one of the smallest in it.
We all play a part, man.
That's right. Yeah. I'm the tech guy. I built some tools that they
Yeah,
liked and
no,
connected some
we,
disparate groups.
we all play an
So,
important part, and you're
yeah.
an
Yep.
important part too.
Yep. Last I heard from Adrian, she was working. She was kind of working on the Venezuela issue, and the rest of our group is still moving forward. I'm not sure why we were. I guess they wanted the group, the larger group wanted more of a say in the name. So we put out a vote. We said, hey, what are we going to, is our organization name going to be, and what is our domain name going to be? And it's going to be Uniting for Palestine, and the .com version of that. So that's what we'll use. We'll redirect U4Pal to Uniting for Palestine. Basically, I'm in charge of putting this together. My vision is what I'd like to do is I purchased the domain name liberation.net. And what I would like to do is create a website that allows people to more easily join the movement and see that they can be a very influential part of the movement. But with whatever skills they have, they can contribute to the movement. That's what I want to build. That's what I want for my vision as liberation.net. And so I'm kind of I'll be building uniting for Palestine.com as well. And it'll kind of be maybe a test case for my liberation.net website. So there'll be, we're working on basically presenting information on that website to show people how they can join and help us grow the movement.
Right.
So we did lose. I feel like we did lose a little bit of momentum with the ceasefire, with the phase one, and with the passing of the Trump plan. But we are still moving the same direction. We took just a little breather to reorganize, and I feel like our reorganization has taken taken the front burner rather than Palestine. But we'll get our organization figured out pretty soon, and then start moving. Start understanding what can we do to push these countries more.
Yeah, and like organizing is not easy. So these things, they take time, effort. Whatever you end up doing with Uniting for Palestine and liberation.net, consider working with Tech for Palestine. Lots of great mentors there, great community there, great support, and then support from marketing perspective and other perspectives, right? Just the networking is immensely useful. And so for both projects, consider applying to their incubator and working with them. And for my own project, hutnow.com, there's like the community has been just invaluable, and huge part of
Okay.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
do have to talk to you. Yeah, no, I do have to talk to you more about that. I remember us discussing this in the past, and there may be being like a little, miscommunication between myself and Tech for Palestine. But yeah, we do have to. I'm going to go back and look through what they told me, and trying to understand how they can contribute and how I can work with them more closely.
Yeah, and actually, when you mentioned organizations that kind of coming together, figuring out things, reorganizing, things like that. That's actually the reason Tech for Palestine came to mind, because Tech for Palestine has gone through a couple of those kind of phases, and they're actually going through that kind of phase again right now. And so just constantly evolving and improving, right? So anyways, we have a question from Catherine. Is Eric Warsaw part of your group? There is a logo and profile photo icon that can be added to supporters' social media profile, or is there a logo?
Right.
And
There's a logo and profile photo icon.
So,
is there? Catherine, are you saying? Are you stating that that Eric Warsaw provides a logo and profile photo icon?
Well, I've just seen it on his on his TikTok account and his other accounts. Well, his TikTok account got canceled, but he's on X now more. They all his followers, which he's got thousands and thousands, they all have it on their profiles.
Which logo is this?
It's a U for P.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm not familiar with him. I may have seen him in the past if it's the guy I'm thinking of, but no, as far as I understand it, no, he's not part of he doesn't work with us in particular. He may have promoted stuff we have done, and he may have come across the U4P resolution due to our advocacy of it, and then he realized, hey, this is something I should promote. So that may have happened if it's the guy I'm thinking about. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, and it is very. We do have, like I say, we are kind of a network of groups, somewhat. Stop Genocide being one of the ones that kind of brought us together, but there are a bunch of other ones. I think one of our members has a J. What is it? I forget. Anyway, she has and all these names sound very similar, but yeah. So.
Yeah, no. Eric has had a TikTok live for Palestine the day after 9/11. I'm not 9/11. October 7th. So he's been big in helping Palestinians for like 2.5 years now, and he's got a huge following. They've canceled him off TikTok now. Like I got canceled as well. Yeah, so I'm surprised you don't know him, because he's quite big. He's in Boston.
Okay.
Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm gonna go try and see if I recognize him from the person I was.
But we should.
So, Eric,
but those kinds of icons and profile picture, what do you call them? It's like an icon, I guess. Really help to get the word out. And if everybody did that, then
Okay.
people would start knowing what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't recognize him. I mean, I've probably seen him before, but he's not the person I was thinking of. Yeah, but I see his
Anyway,
Instagram profile now. Yeah. No,
anyways,
you're right. Yes, we do try to. Yeah, I mean, we definitely do try to work with larger Instagram accounts. For example, Hazami was a big. I don't know. Hazami doesn't have as many followers as Eric does, for sure. But Hazami was the person who led one of our webinars. You know, who promotes some of our stuff as well.
right.
I've worked closely with her.
There's one more question from. Sorry, go ahead, Catherine, please. You wanted to ask something, Catherine?
No. Sorry, I'm finished. Yeah.
Okay. There's one more question from Samantha. I may have missed this, but does Israel banning of additional humanitarian work, some UN affiliated, impact these efforts in any way? And I suppose the same question may be applicable to some of the UN orgs Trump pulled the US out of.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't affect our operations, but as far as UNRWA or other aid organizations being able to contribute aid to Gaza, I think it certainly does. I haven't actually seen it, but if Israel is banning, you know, particular, I've seen the news, but they ban particular things or put reductions on aid or whatever. Yeah, that it definitely has an impact because Israel controls Gaza. It controls the complete border of Gaza, land and sea.
Right.
I mean, there is a border with Egypt, but Egypt does what Israel says. They say, hey, don't let anybody into Gaza, or don't let anybody out. They're just playing along.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if that's the question, is that your understanding of the question?
Yeah. Samantha, would you like to?
I know that it obviously affects things, but I meant also just in the stance of like, because to do the Uniting for Peace, we need, a certain ratio of countries to get behind it. If the fact that the US now doesn't have as much leverage within the UN to some extent, if that can actually help us in some way.
Oh, okay. So let's see.
It might be completely hypothetical. I don't know. It occurred to me that by leaving some of these groups, the US has put itself in a position of no longer having quite as much say in, potentially. I don't know.
Well, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. They haven't yet. I mean, they do leave these groups, but they're definitely staying in the Security Council. I mean, yes, if they leave the Security Council, it's game over, right? Because then the Security Council votes, and they all vote for, a resolution for Palestine, and bang, is done. I mean, and a Security Council resolution for Palestine would be huge, much stronger than the General Assembly resolution. So yeah, and the reason I say that is because this did happen back in. I think this is what happened back in 1950, the Korean War, because the USSR didn't attend a couple resolutions, and this went through the UNGA. So kind of it is the only thing that allowed the Uniting for Peace resolution to pass, is that the Security Council kind of just kicked it down because the USSR didn't, wasn't there for a couple of them. It wasn't there to vote on a couple of them. So yes, but they are where it matters. They're going to stay in and fight it, and I mean, illegally. I mean, I say illegally, but the law is the international law of the Security Council is them vetoing it. It vetoes it. So yeah, yeah. So.
Thank you. Yeah, so definitely keep us up to date. If there's any kind of mailing lists that you recommend joining, you can let us know.
That's a very good question, Salman. Yes, when I don't even have a newsletter sign up at Stop Genocide, but that will definitely be one of the first functions we have at unitingforpalestine.com, our new website. So I'll let the group know. I'll put a post out in the group Signal chat.
And then I forget who added me to the Signal group, but there is a Signal group. Like, how open is the Signal group for the Uniting for Peace?
Oh, there are some. There's one. I think there are a couple. The one for news is completely open. I don't know if everybody can join it, just at will, but it's very open. And then there's another one. I think our umbrella organization is definitely open to people. I think it's open to people in this group. Anybody in this group could join it. And then there are subgroups that are they're smaller and they're working groups. So there's like the digital and content group, which I'm in, which is heads up the website, which is a little bit more close knit. But if you have tech, if you're a Tech for Palestine person, or if you have a lot of tech experience, you're certainly welcome to join. If you're if you're going to do work to help build the website, you're definitely going to be on the team that I'm in.
Right. If you could share the links,
Yep.
so that just so that I make sure to share the right links with the
Okay.
group members here, whatever is open, to Freedom Advocacy Network members.
Yep.
And then I can share, and whoever wants to join can join the Signal.
Yeah, I'll write up a little doc of that. Yeah, let me.
Yeah, something that doesn't have to be formal, just something quick. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it might as well. Yeah, I mean, yes, quicker the better for sure. But yeah, I'll try and. I mean, I have to get these links together for you. So yeah, but I'll definitely, and the descriptions of these links. But I'll do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So there are no more questions, and we're at the end of our time, 2 minutes over. So thank you so much for your time, Roel. I appreciate you very much telling us about Uniting for Peace and all the effort that's going on here. Keep us up to date. Maybe we can do another one in another few months when the time is right, especially if there's something kind of big happening and further push is needed from the community, and then we could potentially even plan that well in advance, depending on what the scheduling is like, and go from there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Samantha. The Roel will send us the link. Send me the link, and I'll share it in the email afterwards.
Yep. I'll write some stuff down, giving an understanding of these Signal groups, and yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so
much,
much,
everybody, for listening.
Yeah.
Hope I provided some information, food for thought for you.
You were awesome. So please, thank you for that. Thank you for being here, and thank you everyone else for being here. I appreciate all of you. Next week again, we're gonna have our friend Gabriel Ostuni. Some of you may be connected to him on LinkedIn. He is the founder of metanoia.community, and his team, they've been one of several groups now that are dedicated to helping people move away from big tech and big corporations in general. So Metanoia is not just big tech focused, but also like any big corporation focused, like we're moving away from them, more local, things like that. And they do a lot of great work to practically help you, not just say, okay, move away from big tech, move away from big corporations, but give you specific directions. Okay, move email like this, and move your groceries like this, and avoid this and avoid that, and minimize this and things like that. So basically teaching us to vote with our dollars, and the currency that we spend, that's the most impactful vote that we have. So looking forward to learning more about that with all of you next week. All right, thank you everyone, have a great day.
Thanks everyone, bye-bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.